So we got here an old Lexus RX400h with pretty cloudy headlights. I need to restore these. As you can see, it's quite badly faded. It's not so much yellowing, it's more faded. One side is worse than the other. This is the other side. So from the top here, this side's not too bad down here. And then this side where it's exposed more to the sun, it does need cleaning it up. So I'm going to be using the Autoglym headlight restoration kit. I will need to mask around the car, so what I'll do is lift the bonnet up so it saves me from masking here. I'll have to mask the body around here and then around the bumper so it protects the paintwork. So that'll be the prep time. So what do we have? We've got 3M masking tape, so this is really for automotive use, so it doesn't leave any tack behind. Got a spray bottle for clean water for the wet and dry application. The headlight restoration kit, which comes with all the sanding pads, polishing discs, applicator, compound, wipes as well for microfiber cloth, and then a fully charged drill. So I've just masked the headlights out on both sides. Made it thicker on certain places around where the body is, so if anyhow the drill pad touches the paintwork, it is protected. Typically Lexus RX400 is always nicely detailed, so there's a lot of masking required around here. So inside the pack we have the microfiber cloth, the applicator for the polish, the pad holders, the sanding discs. So what do we have? We've got different types of sanding discs. We've got the 2000 grit, and we've got 1500 grit, and also an 800 grit as well. These will be more for the finishing, and then you have the compound as well for the finishing, polishing as well. So that's what's required. Set the drill at 1200 RPM to 1600 RPM as per the instruction. There's also online video at Autoglym on YouTube that will also give you some step-by-step guides too. So just finished off with a P800 disc. Wipe it down using the cloth that's been provided, and also just bear in mind, if the disc does get clogged up, you'll get some residue from the plastic. As I said before, it's important to mask off because there are chances that your sanding disc will touch the bodywork, so make sure it is masked off. So I'm going to use the next grit, which is the P1500, and then wipe that down and then follow on with the polishing disc as well. Okay, so what I found is that the discs do end up wearing off very quickly or generate a lot of heat very quickly, which ends up leaving these sort of burnt on marks where the dust build up creates these sort of burn on. So light pressure I found is better than heavy pressure, but still these discs do end up going off very quickly. So they are very light, so they're not very abrasive, as you can imagine, and hence why they go off very quick. So you do need to change these discs frequently. I'm on P1500 at the moment, just like trying to get the scratches off so I can do the wet and dry, and let's see what happens after polishing. You might find that you have to repeat the process and just get some of the scratches and marks off again. So in the process I find that using the old wet and dry process is much better. I will still continue to use the Autoglym kit just for the polishing factor, it will be easier to do. But actually, with the Lexus headlamp, which has got lots of curves and indents for the shape, I do find using the wet and dry with a soft pad to be much easier to do. So this is a 1200 grit, and you see it does make much better work and the heat generation doesn't build up, unlike the sanding disc. Make sure you obviously keep it wet, and the Autoglym doesn't recommend wetting a 1500 grit pad. So this here is a 1200 grit, so it's actually more coarser than the Autoglym 1500. However, what you find, it takes all the scratches off from the P100, P800 disc, and also it's actually easier to control around all the sort of masking and also your paintwork. So it's actually better to use just wet and dry. So I'll show you once I wiped it down how much scratches it's taken off from the surface. Obviously all this milky white stuff is actually the plastic you're sanding down. So if your headlights was quite badly tarnished, then this white cream that's coming off is almost a good sign, because you're actually working the plastic off. So I'm just gonna wipe off all the residue. So what I might do is actually use a 2500 grit pad now. So it's taken off most of the blemishes. I think it is getting ready for compound polish. So it's milky white, as it should be, before you end up polishing it. Looking for any sort of scratches on the surface, whether it requires any further sanding down. I think a 2500 grit will be good. Again, wet the surface down before you start sanding. And it's already making an impact, taking out further surface marking and scratching. So this is just getting it prepped for a compound. So this is like an in-between 2000, 2500. So the polishing disc that comes with the Autoglym is a 3000. So as you've seen from before, it does heat up and the pad does get clogged up quick. And considering they've given you only 2 pads, that is not going to be very good. So if you do have some wet and dry to your hand, or I would suggest get some to do a decent job, then that will be better. Certainly good. It's taken out the last fine blemishes from the sanding. This will be very ready for the polishing afterwards. Just doing it on this side now. So lots of water, keep on top of it. There's a little haze here, so I'm just going to go over that. I just did the top here and it's looking much nicer, and this part looks finished now. So I'm just going to go through it again here where I can see some light hazing. So I want to get as much surface scratches off as possible, so the compound is just purely gets a very nice easy job of just polishing. So I'm just putting the compound around the pad, not in one place, trying to get it as much as possible around it, not too much, because otherwise we'll end up getting compound going everywhere. Have a quick look. Yep, looks pretty good, mirrored finish. I'm now going to complete it and do both sides, and let's see how that goes. Job done, I reckon. It's all down to the prep. What I found is the polishing disc, the 3000 polishing disc on the Autoglym is good, and the compound is good, so that makes it nice and easy with the buffing. If you want to, you could use a lamb's wool buffer if you wanted to get extra out, for an extra shine, that is, but it's looking a whole lot better than what it did to begin with. And the wet and dry with the hand is definitely a good option to do. So let's have a look at the other side. Yep, it's taken out most of the scratches. And if you want to go through wet and dry again and take any extra scratches off, the top's looking nice and clean, then of course just repeat the process and take further out. So I might just do that for certain areas, like here I can see deeper scratches, so I might just do a wet and dry again on this, and then do another 3000 and also the final compound as well.